Morning political broadcast, where we dissect the biggest political and policy issues in the Republic. This Sunday, the nation is celebrating the Senate's eventual breakthrough in the county revenue sharing formula deadlock, but at what cost? The political melee aside, we focus on the people. A shame of a nation as sadly a Kenyan mother gave birth outside the country's largest maternity hospital. We'll also take a look at efforts by ODM leader Raila Odinga to put the building bridges ban back on the road and counter efforts by a group of governance activists to stop the reggae. Also, may the real hustler please stand up. Odinga raids Deputy President William Ruto's backyard and proclaims that everyone is a hustler. We dissect the latest intrigues in the race to State House. As always, stand by to call in studio with your views, comments and questions. We'll give you a chance to have the final say. My panelists are here with me to help me put perspective into some of these issues. I have with me my colleague, senior reporter at the Standard, Roslyn Obala, humanitarian and development consultant, Cherotich Sei. I have with me political risk analyst, Dismas Mokua, lawyer and political strategist, Kipchumba Karori, and communications strategist, Mark Bichachi. Ladies and gentlemen, many thanks for joining me as always. We shall be coming to you shortly. Let's get into it. Anger mounted against Pumwani Maternity Hospital after a video of an expectant mother giving birth at the hospital gate went viral. Angry women MPs from across the political divide storming the maternity hospital, seeking answers over the incident that has infuriated Kenyans. The expectant mother had been turned away by security guards ostensibly because of a strike by health workers. The Nairobi Metropolitan Services has apologized over the incident, saying measures have been taken to avoid a repeat of a similar incident. Let's begin with KTN's Beldino Waliaula reporting that the mother and newborn are doing fine now.
This disturbing video has been making rounds in social media, infuriating members of the public. Many questioning how such an incident could happen just outside Pumwani Maternity Hospital. In the video, angry residents could be seen forcing the guards to open the gates to allow the expectant mother to deliver in the hospital. Not left behind were women legislators who stormed the hospital today, seeking to know why the administration could allow such a thing to happen. The leaders confronted hospital authorities, with the hospital's nursing in charge having a rough time explaining the matter. According to her, only 2 nurses were on duty at the time.
The mother was saved by our nurses, and she was brought here, and the mother was delivered. And the nurses who helped her could be identified. Right now, she's on off duty. Yeah.
In a statement sent to newsrooms, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services apologized for the incident, but said the new mother and her baby were later attended to by health workers. Christine Gaki is one of the women who offered help to the mother.
Venye nilikuwa napita niko na gari imekuja emergency na bwana alitoka amebeba bibi yake kwa mikono zote mbili juu. Alipofika hapo kwa gate, soja mwenye alikuwa hapo alikataa kuwafungulia. Akawaambia sisi tumegoma, mpelekeni hospitali nyingine. Venye alikuwa anamrudisha kwa gari, bibi alishindwa kurudi, na mimi venye alishindwa kurudi nikakuja, mama akakaa hapo chini venye kama vile ninavyojua, mama akalala. Kuna ori alikuwa saidi yangu, nikachukua hiyo leso yenye ilikuwa na ori akiwa amejifunga juu, na nikaambia mama alale, na nikamzarisha vizuri sana, nikamwambia push, and she pushed, na mtoto akazaliwa, mtoto wa kike.
We don't want to go after the askaris at the gate. Askaris at the gate operate under instructions. We want to go for who gave askaris at the gate instructions to close the gate and prevent mothers from entering.
The First Lady have been fighting about maternal health care, that we need to bring our mothers to hospitals to give birth, and then we return them at the door of a hospital. We are saying today the administration cannot run away from this.
On Twitter, Kenyans expressed disappointment with the hospital by trending a hashtag all mothers are equal. The incident happened on 13th of this month. The mother has since been discharged. It's not the first time that Pumwani Hospital is finding itself on the negative side of the public. With the video trending online,
it's a call for the hospital management to ensure it improves.
Quite unfortunate turn of events. There are a lot to unpack in this story. We want to leave the political drama aside. Let me begin with you, Cherotich. What do you have to say to this, first off?
Well, first of all, I was pleased to see that it wasn't all legislators who turned around and gaslit the medics and the helpful crowd that joined in to help the lady who was unfortunately forced to deliver at the gates of Pumwani Maternity Hospital. I also would like to have seen more male legislators there. This is not just a women's issue. This is a people's issue. This is an issue of humanity. You know, I believe that although we can turn around and say that some of the medical staff or the medical staff were on strike, we need to problematize it and understand what it is that drives or causes medical staff to go on strike so that the services are not readily available. But that said, I think this is a very ironic occurrence in the wake of all the furore around the apparent insults hurled or leveled against the First Lady, the former First Lady, where we talk about all women are equal, all mothers are equal, respect our mothers. And right hot on the heels of that, you have a woman forced to deliver right outside the gates of Pumwani Maternity Hospital. I think of all the investment. I go fiscal now and I say how much money, even when you talk about the medical equipment leasing scheme, has gone to each county to support medical facilities to be able to do what they need to do to provide the services. You look at the Beyond Zero campaign, the maternal and newborn health campaigns. You look at every single shilling, millions, billions that are poured into issues of maternal health. And at the end of the day, we still have situations where mothers are giving birth outside hospital gates. This is not the first time. But I also want to take great exception to the statement that came from Nairobi Metropolitan Services saying that the mother is okay. No one is okay if they're traumatically forced to give birth at the gates of a hospital. Yes, she may be alive. Yes, her baby may be alive. But is that okay? Do we have standards of dignity that apply to certain members of the society and not to others? I have had children and I never, thank goodness, had to deliver at the gates of any hospital. But if I had delivered at the gates of any hospital, just like the mother we saw in this clip that went viral, I would not be okay because my dignity is affronted. Even in the past, before we had hospitals and so on and so forth, you had certain protocols. You had the medicine women, the traditional birth attendants. There was a way to protect and safeguard the health and the dignity of the woman as she gave birth, because what she is doing is sacred. It is a sacred task that she is undertaking. And what this just exemplifies is the space of disrespect and contempt with which the ordinary mwananchi is held.
Mark Bichache, let me come to you. There are so many balls in the air, so many scandals at the Ministry of Health, medical equipment. We've seen the COVID billionaires. We've seen this impasse at the Senate over the county revenue sharing formula. So many things that could have a direct or indirect impact to such things. I mean, the lady has a constitutional right to health. This is quite unacceptable, isn't it?
It is very unacceptable, and for me, one statement just stands true. This is the case of public officials taking personal concerns first, whether it is the management of the hospital or even it is the institution that called for the strike, the go slow, whether it is the senators who delayed county revenue allocation, whether it is the people within the county government who have delayed payments of a lot of staff, whether it's the people in the Ministry of Health who've done the wrong thing when it comes to the NEMS holistic medical equipment services. All of these people stand culpable for the chagrin and anguish that this particular woman went through. But she's is emblematic, as George Floyd was, to the wider systemic problem that Kenyans face because of corruption. The services that we get are almost a favor when officials refuse to appear in office, when officials choose to delay because they don't feel like coming to work, when officials decide that their strike is more important than human life. All of those people stand guilty, not only for this particular woman having been forced to give birth on the side of the road, but for the many thousands who've died. And I'll give you an example of Ken Walibora Waliaula, who died the other day simply because he could not get medical attention as and when he needed it. And that underscores a bigger problem. It underscores the problem that Kenya, once again, is a country full of good intentions, but we consistently are driven to hell by the corrupt and selfish leaders that keep making these situations a norm in our country. So what is the solution? Solution number one is we must seriously sit down and push the president and the CS of health to deliver on universal health care. Every woman, every human being in Kenya, for that matter, has a right to access quality healthcare minus corruption. That is what the Kenyan people must demand. And if we are going to demonstrate, let's not demonstrate until someone is fired in the management of Pumwani. No. Let us demonstrate until universal healthcare is put in place. And when women go to our hospitals, they're not insulted, they're not slapped around for simply being in labor. That is what we need to push for, and it needs to be a standard every Kenyan should be willing to give everything to see happen.
Rosalind, talk to us about this incident.
Ben, I also agree with my colleagues, what they have shared. I think it is quite shameful what had happened, and it's unfortunate that we are seeing this in this era where the Jubilee government actually initiated the program on free maternity care. You remember this is something that started from 2013. So when we are still talking about issues of women having to deliver on the road, and it is quite unfortunate that it was happening at a time that we are fighting COVID. You could have seen even the way the people who went to rescue this woman, there was no social distancing. Some did not have masks. Maybe even the way she was handled, she was exposed. So this just goes down to the rot that we have in the health sector. And the issue of health is not something that is starting today. We know that health is a devolved function. And the national government has its part in it in terms of policy and all that. But I think it is a debate that we need to focus on. When you see our leaders focusing on BBI and others, I think the health sector should actually be their topmost priority when they're discussing about the issues of this country. Because remember, since independence, we've been talking about poverty and disease. Now, if we cannot turn around and have a 360 conversation on our health sector, then I don't think where we are headed, we are going to do anything. Remember last year, but one also, the president launched the universal health care. And still also that, we are yet to even do an audit and see where do we stand. It was done in the 4 counties. We are still having conversations about the health sector. The other day, the Senate Health and Ad hoc Committee released a report on the medical leasing equipment. And nobody is having conversation about this. It is scandal after scandal, and Kenyans are suffering. We're just having one of the issues when good Kenyans were able to record this. But how many women suffer in silence? How many Kenyans lose their lives in the hands of the health sector workers who are either striking or who are pushing for better services and better welfare, which has not been forthcoming. So I think this is a conversation that as a country, we should not leave it to our leaders, but we should leave it to everybody, because according to the Constitution, fundamental human right dignity is guaranteed, and no Kenya is not equal to the other. We are all equal and we all deserve the same services.
All right. Dismas, let me come to you. A lot of Nairobians had the feeling that Nairobi Metropolitan Services had things in control in Nairobi. From where you see it, who is to blame for this? Somebody has to take the blame for this.
Well, Ben, that's a very interesting perspective. And in my view, the blame or the buck stops with Major General Badi, because that's where NMS is, and that's his responsibility. But even before we start asking ourselves where does this backstop at this particular instance, is let's look at the global picture. How is the healthcare managed in Kenya at a national and a county level? It seems to me that our public servants of rank as well as politicians do not place a premium on healthcare in Kenya. Healthcare in Kenya has been relegated because majority of the public servants of rank and politicians do not use public facilities. So there's a deliberate effort not to invest sufficient resources in these healthcare facilities. That's the first thing. Then secondly, there's an emerging conversation that probably we need a national healthcare commission so that we maintain standards from the national level, so that we have adequate resources. This has not been the case. When you visit most of these facilities managed by counties, every governor runs the facility as they deem fit. They appoint their family and friends to run these facilities. Then they get compromised MCS to be in charge of a specific budget. So at the end of the day, you do not get quality service. And in my view, and it's a matter of urgency now, that we must look at the possibilities of having a national healthcare commission so that we can set standards and so that there can be penalties for errors of both of omission and commission. What one would expect of a general body is to do a thorough investigation and find out who was responsible for that mischief. Because you cannot be in Kenya and we want to be a first world country. We are talking about universal healthcare coverage. The first lady is spending a lot of resources, and you allow a lady in that manner to give birth in the middle of the streets. Just imagine if there was any healthcare complication. Look at the environment, it's very dirty. The lady could even be infected while she's giving birth. So in my view, General Badi takes responsibility because the buck stops with him, and we need to see heads rolling. Because this one is going to be a regular occurrence, that there's this kind of mischief. There is a news release which offers as an apology, and then we sweep it under the carpet. That one must not happen. The people who took the decisions must be penalized. And also moving forward, healthcare is an essential service, so that we shouldn't allow people to go on strike, people who offer essential services. This one cannot be a best practice anymore. We cannot be in a situation whereby we allow health workers to go on strike. And maybe we need to review specific amendments of our constitution or supporting legislation so that healthcare becomes an essential service, and anybody employed by the public sector who goes on a go-slow or who goes on strike and as a result lives are lost, that should be treated as a capital offense. And just imagine, had she not given a normal birth, if there was a bit of complication, would have lost the mother and would have also lost the young one. So that is the first level. Then the second level, there was a lot of hue and cry when people are saying that all mothers are equal. You saw demonstrations all over erupting in Kenya. Where are those kind of demonstrations today? You saw a few female legislators going to the facility yesterday, and they were very polite in their criticism. It's as if nobody wanted to point out to these messes. They were very polite, but a few days ago you saw they were very furious. There were demonstrations all over, and you expect this. And this is not only limited to the female legislators, even the male legislators, members of the Senate. Where is the senator responsible for Nairobi? Where is the Nairobi senator? Where are the MPs in Nairobi? These are the people who need to come out and offer leadership. But at the time when you need our elected leaders most, they disappear into a thick forest. You are not able to see them. So in my view, the buck stops with General Badi. In the past couple of days, he's been praised as a miracle worker. But what kind of miracles are you doing if the most important thing in life, that's the life of a mother who is giving birth and the young one, have not been taken into active consideration? You recall when President Kenyatta took office, he was sworn in and he was told to take care of lives and properties. So the most important thing that President Kenyatta, the Nairobi governor, and General Badi needed to do is to ensure that all the medical facilities within Nairobi are up and running. And we must make sure that all the leaders who have been elected to serve Nairobi, we have a fire on their feet, because we cannot just allow our leaders in Nairobi to be doing news conferences, social media activities, Facebook, teaching people. But where the rubber meets the road, healthcare facilities, they are very loud in their silence.
Right. Kipchumba, this is just one incident that got the privilege of being filmed and went viral on social media. But what does it say about the state of the Kenyan healthcare system?
Actually, it is much beyond the state of the Kenyan healthcare system, Ben. It goes to the mendacity that operates within it, that is in the infrastructure of our politics. When somebody talked about Mama Ngina a few weeks ago, there was hue and cry. It was as though the walls of Jericho were coming down. But when a woman was captured in camera giving birth in the roadside, the same women who paid people for Mandamano have disappeared when this is their key role. If today the women reps in this country will not do anything about the mother who gave birth in the road or at the gate of Pumwani Hospital, I think this is one of the greatest tests of that position. What do we really pay these women reps for? What do we pay the nominated women reps for? And then again, why do we have a political class which is pro the rich? Because if that woman was a known lady or a lady of means, you would have seen the heads rolling. Maybe even as we speak today, body will have been suspended or something will have happened to the head of Pumwani. But because she is an nondescript lady who comes from a slum somewhere, nothing is happening. And then again, it is time for us to question and to ask the policies we have developed, the policies the Uhuru Kenyatta government has developed, from the UHC to the issue of free maternity. And then we ask ourselves, every now and then, we see these county governors launching very meticulous and expensive ambulances. You saw the lady there was no ambulance in sight where the lady could have done whatever she was doing in an organized and in a decent manner. The other question we ask, how far is the intervention from the first lady? That beyond zero. This is the time to question ourselves. There's so much investments we do in the healthcare. Are they investment to the entrepreneurs or are they money we send to the house mafias? Those are the questions we need to ask. Even as we question what the authorities are doing, we need to laud the Office of the Ombudsman for the investigation they have started on this incident and on what really happened. But also, we need to ask Madam Kajuju, the chairperson, to speed the investigation so that Kenyans can know where the lapse occurred and who to blame. And again, Ben, the other question we need to ask going forward is this. Will we always be raging about these issues? What is supposed to happen? We need to get to a point whereby universal health care is as basic as our primary education is, because we're still in a position whereby for you to get into an ambulance, you need to pay 10,000. For you to get emergency health care, you need to know somebody. So we need to ask ourselves, even as we put questions to the doorstep of General Badi, and for me as a person, I'll question Sonko because that is the duly elected leader, the person who is accountable to the people. We need to ask ourselves, how far are we going to tolerate a system that does not help the majority? A system that only is there to glorify the minority who have made the majority suffer.
And Kipchumba, Cherotich says it's not a women issue only. It should not be the women leaders coming into this only.
No, Ben, I said as a bare minimum. I did not say that now that we have this, the other leaders should not, but as a bare minimum, and because it is the women leaders who paid people to riot when Honorable Ngong or Lekiseria said something, I thought it is the same women leaders who now should pay people to riot on this one. And maybe also Honorable Mwaura, because he was very fast on Mama Ngina issue. I have not seen Honorable Mwaura, the nominated senator, coming out on this. And it is also an issue because all the male members of parliament are parents by extension, and they will not like to see their daughters or to see their wives or their mothers bringing life in such a situation. So we need to ask Kenyan political leadership to take responsibility for whatever happened to that one lady at the gate of Pumwani Hospital.
Thanks for clarifying.
But our
all right.
Focus should go to the women reps because they have the funds, they have the air view to do whatever they are supposed to do and to do it right.
All right. Chero, very quickly, as you tell me this, are you satisfied that this will not happen again, as the body promised?
Of course, it will keep happening again until we get rid of the corruption that riddles the health sector. And I'm glad that Kipchumba clarified his position, because this cannot be about women reps alone. And I must say that there are very many excellent legislators, women reps included, who are doing a good job where they are to the extent possible. I just find it extremely unfortunate that the women rep Nairobi came back with such casual and careless statements. And those are the types of statements that then turn the population against this position called women rep, which was really meant to fulfill a gap in legislative spaces. And here you have women reps, or this particular woman rep from Nairobi speaking so carelessly. But then, if you look at the budget allocation for universal health care that Mark was referring to earlier on, we have 4.1 billion shillings allocated to cater for free maternity health care. But if you look at the entire list, whether it's 50.3 billion for activities, 19.2 to address HIV, 6.2, 5.3, 1.8, 15.0, 10, there is so much money. There are billions of shillings allocated to healthcare. And in that allocation for this year, you also have another 6.2 billion for the managed equipment services. So what I'm saying, Ben, is so long as there's a culture of rampant corruption, as Roslyn was saying, where we shake our heads at a scandal and keep moving forward, money will disappear. And I really disagree with gaslighting or victimizing medical staff. There have been warnings upon warnings, looking at the way in which our healthcare staff are abused. By the time they're going on strike, no matter how sacred life is, you know they have been pushed to the edge. So I want to stand with healthcare workers here. I do not want to stand in judgment of them. Yes, it is a tricky situation, but that's why I say we have to understand why were they on strike in the first instance. We don't chop the head off and say these healthcare workers are to blame. No, we have a system that has systematically abused our healthcare workers. So it is a myriad of issues, and it's not coming to an end until we tackle the issue of corruption in the health sector.
All right, Mark Bichachi, tell me this very quickly, 30 seconds only. Is it Sonko or Badi that should take responsibility for this one? Or is it one of those instances where the lines will become ever so blurry?
Well, the lines are not blurry in my view, because remember the role of paying for these services and paying for salaries remains squarely with Sonko. So if you were to look at the issue of the medical workers going on strike in Nairobi, that is Sonko's purview. But on the other hand, if you look at the behavior and how this lady was treated, then the human resource capacity and how they treat their patients, that's squarely on Badi, that's squarely on the ministry, because it is their job to make sure that their staff have the right client service protocols.
All right. It is a story that we'll continue keeping an eye on as investigation as what really happened here, even as Kenyans can hope that there will be no repeat of such. Let's take a quick commercial break. Here on Inside Politics, when we come back, we shall be getting into some real politics, into the process, the Building Bridges initiative process, which Raila Odinga says must continue. But there's a group of governance activists who have filed a petition with the courts to seek clarification on some issues, an issue that could mean that the BBI process will be derailed. We'll dissect all that for you when we come back.